Hello, I'm Julian Whittle from Cumbria Chamber of Commerce, and I'm here with Kevin Beaty, the leader of Eden District Council. Now, this evening, the Chamber hosts a celebration of Eden dinner with Eden Council, when the authority will talk a bit more about its Penrith Vision Masterplan. This document is going to be the blueprint for the development of Penrith right through to 2050. Kevin, why has Eden drawn up the master plan? Why is it needed?
The future of Eden is really, really important to us, and we can see the developments that are happening around us. We can see to the east of us, we've got the Tees Valley Combined Authority, and they're pushing ahead with their Tees Port and all those exciting operations there.
Yeah.
To the north of us, we have Carlisle with its developments. It's got its new business parks,
the enterprise zone.
The enterprise zone, and it's also it's applied for Garden Village status, and they're looking at that, which is down at junction 42 on the M6, and we're up at junction 40 and 41. To the west of us, we've got all that stuff going on in the nuclear industry. Hopefully that'll be going ahead, and I see today the government's announced that they're backing one in Wales, so it'll be interesting to see if they start doing that up here. And then to the south of us, we have all that northern powerhouse going on. I know they say that we're still in the northern powerhouse, but it does feel as if it's a bit Manchester, Liverpool based. So there's all that going on around us, and we're in the heart of all that, and we just feel as if we're in the heart of Cumbria. Additionally to that, we've got announced last autumn in the Chancellor's statement was the upgrade of the A66, and that's going to bring problems because it'll bring in more traffic, it'll bring in roadworks for a number of years, but it also brings opportunities of increased traffic heading north to Glasgow and Scotland, and heading west to the west coast. So we're excited about all these opportunities, and we feel we're just about to complete our current local plan, which was meant to be completed a couple of years ago actually, but that's almost a historic document now. And we need to start updating our future because we feel that that's very much needed now.
Now, we know that businesses in Eden, and indeed in other parts of Cumbria, face difficulties recruiting staff. The unemployment rate in Eden is actually, along with South Lakeland, it's the lowest in the UK, and it's well under half the national average unemployment rate. So how will the master plan help employers who are looking to take on staff?
Staffing is a huge problem. We're on our farm today. We don't have. I'm finding it difficult to recruit part-time staff in particular, but even full-time staff are difficult for farms at the moment. Fully qualified farm staff are very difficult to find. And when I was speaking to businesses around Eden, we're finding most people are having a struggle to recruit. Two headline things this week: Carlisle Airport is finding that it can't even recruit its air traffic controllers, and we're hearing stories about the Lakes line in from Oxenholme to Windermere about the difficulty they're having to recruit train drivers, and it's starting to affect every type of business right across the spectrum. Another problem we have in Eden is low wage economy. Although we have very low unemployment, we also have a very low waged economy. We most of the jobs in Eden are agricultural or service industries, and especially into the tourism industry. The visitor economy is really important to us. So those tend to have lower wages. And one of our priorities at Eden is to try and raise that wage level as well. So herein lies our problem. We don't have an unemployment problem. We want to attract higher wages to the area, but does that displace some of the lower paid jobs? It is a problem for us, really.
So what's you talk about attracting more high skill, high wage employment. What's the strategy? How do you do that?
How do we attract it?
Yeah.
To be honest, we don't have to. We're finding that businesses are looking to base themselves in Penrith. We talked about the A66 upgrade. We're in the heart of Cumbria, essentially. We are on the crossroads of the M6 and the A66. We have the West Coast Railway there, and businesses want to base themselves there because logistically it's the perfect place to base yourself for all the reasons I was talking about. We can see opportunities. That's why people want to base themselves with us. So we've seen a marked increase in people wanting to come and base themselves in Penrith. So the master plan has to come forward because those businesses will need to employ people, and so we need to have more people living in the area. and we actually don't have enough employment land, so we need to bring forward more business parks. And we feel the emerging master plan is showing that junction 41, which is the most underused junction on the M6, which is just north of junction 40, which is one of the busiest junctions on the M6. We think junction 41 is the perfect place to start looking to base some of these businesses.
I'll come back to that in a minute, but you touched there on housing, which is an absolutely pivotal part of the master plan, because I suppose if we need more workers to fill these jobs, then they need somewhere to live. And it could be as many as 8,000 new homes for Penrith. But it isn't just about numbers, is it? It's affordability. I think there are almost 1,000 people on the waiting list for social housing in Eden. And house prices, or house price affordability, is a big issue. The average house prices in Eden are 9.4 times average earnings. Now, nationally, that multiple is 7.7, and I think for the Northwest it's only 6. So there's a real affordability issue. So how do we ensure that if more homes are built, people can afford them?
Well, there's two ways you can do that. You can try and book the market by creating policy where you force house builders to build affordable housing. And in Eden, our policy is that 30% of those homes would hopefully be affordable homes.
Which would either be affordable, in other words, at a lower than market price for local people, or there'd be social housing for rent.
That's correct, and it's always a difficult one to describe what is affordable housing. I think the official one is 80% of the average average house price in that area, which still in some instances isn't affordable. So that's one way you can make housing more affordable, is by forcing people to build more affordable homes. The other way is by raising the wage level in the area. The government's already set that in track by the living wage, which is set to rise to up to £9 in the next few years. But just by the fact that there's a shortage of labour, the wages will increase themselves. But we want to attract higher paid jobs in the tech industry, the creative industries, and some of these businesses that literally are basing themselves in our area. I mean, you wouldn't believe that in Penrith we have businesses which are tech businesses like that are doing the Idle, which is basically a compare website for insurance. That no one would believe that was in Penrith. We've got Atlantic Geomatics, which is a surveying company, and I know they find it difficult to find graduates to come and work for them in their industry. So we've got all that going on in Eden, but we've also got lots of growing businesses locally. Ast Signs is another one there that's huge, growing hugely, and we've got businesses like Lloyd's Tractors, who's building Lloyd's in total, the motor industry is building a huge centre in Penrith at the moment. So these businesses are growing, and one of the main problems, and another reason why we're creating this master plan, is that in the last 20 years we've created more jobs in Eden than we've built houses. There's two reasons for that. One reason is that we have been very good at attracting people to base their businesses in Penrith, and we've also had we have an entrepreneurial residency in Eden. We have that one of the highest areas of self-employment, and we have people who are really good at creating businesses and growing those businesses. Some I've already just mentioned, but that is the crux of it, really.
Let's go back to that business park that you were talking about a minute ago near Junction 41. I suppose to play devil's advocate, is it really needed given the difficulties employers have recruiting? So is there actually demand for more business space?
There's demand for more business space in general because our local businesses are growing. Logistics is a big part of Eden's economy, and Penrith has a number of large logistics companies based there. If you know Penrith, the business parks are off Ullswater Road. There's Penrith Industrial Estate, and then there's Gilwell Industrial Estate, and on from that is the Eden Business Park. 3 industrial estates which essentially join together. And to some degree, the traffic that is building on Junction 40 is causing that to back up into the industrial estates, and it's becoming difficult for some of these logistics businesses. Because they've grown so big, they need to move out of those business parks and move on to somewhere bigger, but nearer to and with better access to the M6. So there's already a business park with outline planning permission on a roundabout just off Junction 41, and we see that area as that's just business demand that's led that. We haven't designated that area as business parks yet, but we've given outline planning permission because we can see the need for it, and that's an area we think will grow as an area for employment in the future.
Now, a discussion paper that Eden published last year also floated the idea of a relief road which would link the A66 starting from the east of Penrith, run to the north of the town around the beacon, and then join M6 at junction 41. Why is it needed, and what benefits would that road bring?
Well, I've already mentioned the A66 is being upgraded. That's a given. The government have put a lot of money behind that, and I think they're coming forward with their draft plans towards the autumn of this year, and they'll be finalising that next year. The A66 will, if the traffic, at the moment, the traffic figures that we've seen show that the A66 at the moment has 60% of the traffic that's on the M62 from Manchester to Leeds.
Good grief, yeah.
So it's a huge amount of traffic on that road at the moment, and we expect that to rise. Another example is the A69, which is another Transpennine route, only has 10% of the traffic of the M62. So you can see the difference there. And if you've been over on the East Coast, you'll know that the A1 has been upgraded right up to Scotch Corner, and as soon as you get to Scotch Corner, they haven't really started from there onwards further up. So we're expecting traffic to turn off and come down the A66 to head to Scotland. That'll increase the amount of traffic on junction 40. So that so when you look at the traffic figures on the A66 at the moment, more than 50%, I think it's nearly 60% of the traffic heads north anyways. So in Eden, we're suggesting to the Highways Agency it would make more sense to bisect the A66 further back, somewhere like Temple Sowerby, take the traffic north that wants to go north, and then that will relieve the amount of traffic on junction 41. And Kembley Bank roundabout is a particular bottleneck on a Friday night. And on those areas, the traffic come back a number of miles on a Friday evening. And this weekend coming, we've got the Appleby New Fair, the Appleby Horse Fair. When there's any sort of event like that on, that will back the motorway right up past junction 41 for quite a number of miles, and that's dangerous when they're...
Yeah, I've seen that.
It clogs everything up, and it really does affect the economy. Even the businesses within Penrith itself, you can sometimes, places like the supermarkets, you can hardly get out of the car parks on certain days when it backs up Buzzwater Road. So part of the master plan will include, we've included a relief road to take that traffic north that needs to go north, and that helps Carlisle as well, because that means that the traffic's getting to Carlisle quicker. And the whole point of upgrading the A66 is to make the journeys quicker. It's not really to relieve the traffic congestion, it's to make journeys quicker from the south to the north. So if you upgrade the A66 but still have junction 40 as busy as it is, it won't improve the traffic flow at all. And we'll end up with traffic jams from junction 40 into the south end of Penrith, causing all sorts of air pollution problems as well, because there'll just be standing traffic.
I see. Okay. Now, the discussion paper also raised the possibility of a leisure and recreation park on the east side of Penrith. What would that involve? What would its purpose be?
We included that because health and leisure are really a big part of any town plan. We included that at the south end because that area is prone to flooding, so it wouldn't be suitable for housing or business parks, so it makes sense to make that into an area for leisure. We included it just as a way of showing that we wanted to include leisure. We could also, it included ponds and lakes as well, which we thought would help as flood defences. These are just floating ideas really, but the whole plan, the emerging plan for the master plan, we want to create, we don't want to lose that feeling that Penrith has. We want Penrith to be the economic driver for the rest of Eden, so that people in Alston, Appleby and Kirby Stephen don't have to travel too far to work. If they have to travel, it's only 20 minutes, half an hour to from Penrith to Carlisle. But if you're travelling from Alston, Kirby Stephen or Appleby, to add that half an hour onto your already 40 minute journey, it's quite a long way to work. So we want to create jobs and economic development in Penrith there, but we want to maintain that market town feel, that unique market town feel that Penrith has. It's a great town, and when we speak to people, they say that that's what they like about Penrith. That's why they want to live there. So our emerging plan will show that we want to keep a lot of green space within Penrith. We don't want to clutter it all up with houses. So there's a big area at the back of Penrith at the moment called the Beacon, which is a forested hill with a landmark on the top. There are plans coming forward to create more access to that area for leisure, and we would like to see a number of smaller Cumbrian villages rather than build another Penrith. We want to see a number of villages built behind that beacon to create a large country park in the middle of any extension to Penrith, so that it maintains that feeling. And each of those individual villages that come forward, and I think there might be 3, would have a centre and a community of its own rather than just an extension to the town.
Rather than a suburban sprawl, these would be self-contained communities.
The consultants we've had to draw up the master plan, that was their remit, that they had to maintain the feeling of the Cumbrian market town that Penrith has. And the emerging plan, which we will be releasing soon so that we can consult over the summer with everybody, the emerging plan does show that, and I'm quite pleased with it. I think it'll be a great plan for Penrith and wider Eden, so that we can be one of the most desirable places to live and work in the north of England.
So just to reiterate the timescale, you're looking at publication this summer, followed by a public consultation after that?
We're only weeks away from... We had hoped to publish the document this week, and the business dinner, although the business dinner has been planned for some time, we had hoped to be able to show the master plan at that, but we want to get it just right before we release it.
Exactly, yeah.
So there's a few tweaks to make to it, and it's looking really good. So we want to consult with the public and businesses and everyone else. We've already consulted with stakeholders such as the Environment Agency and the County Council. We've been talking with those right through for a number of months now. We want to go out to the public and see what they think, and then we will decide which way we take the plan. There has to be a plan for Eden and Penrith, because that growth is going to happen, and if we have a master plan which shows where that development can happen, then we can control it rather than inappropriate building houses and causing traffic problems, and building on the green space which I've just talked about that could be for leisure. That we want to keep that. So we want to make sure that we have a plan, so that if someone comes forward with an application for a business park or a housing development, we can say, no, we don't want it there, you have to build it over there, and it has to be in this style because that's what we want in this area.
One final question. Will funding be an issue, in the sense that how much of what's in the master plan will need to be paid for by the public sector as opposed to the private sector?
Well, that's how development works. We have powers such as the 106 agreements. There is a power called SIL, which we don't use, but 106 agreements are essentially, if you want to put a big development together, we would insist that you put some of the roadworks in and pay for those, and possibly even contribute towards schools and
green spaces
and community assets, which will be in amongst this. If we are increasing by 5,000 or 6,000 houses, we will need to have at least 1 or 2 more primary schools, and it'll also help to bolster the other services that we have. I mean, Penrith Hospital is mooted as always being under threat. They nearly took some of the beds away from it recently. If we have more people living in Penrith, we can retain some of those services. Yeah. We've already lost a number of our public old people's homes there, and things like that, and things like old people's homes and the NHS acute services are tending to centre themselves around the areas of larger population like Carlisle and Barrow. Any new development in old people's homes seems to be in Carlisle and Barrow, and they're closing them in Appleby and Kirkby Stephen and Penrith, and that just doesn't seem fair. That if your parents need to go and stay in an old people's home, you have to travel miles to go and see them. We want to create a town that's big enough to sustain those kind of services still, but also be have that traditional feel, and we want it to have a buzz in the middle of town as well. Every town's having to reinvent itself in its town centre, so we want Penrith to have a buzz, have that nightlife that it needs, the cafe culture that you get in most of the towns. You only have to travel to Cheshire to get that feeling in some of the towns, so we want that sort of thing up in Penrith as well.
That's a good note to end on. Thanks very much, Kevin.
Thank you.